Okay, we should be live if my internet is working with me.
If it's working,
Okay.
fair warning, it may not work.
I may be kicked out. If y'all were here for the Hannah Bonham Young Live show, you know. I felt so bad for Zay. Zay was like, oh no, what do I ask? Avery had the questions, but then she remembered I texted her the questions, so it was fine. But hello, everybody. For those rewatching the live, we're going to wait for some people to join us. But this is our June and July, but we're doing it in August live show for the Chronically Courageous Book Club. We are going to be discussing Mickey Chambers' Shakes It Up by, I think it's pronounced Charish Reid.
I think so.
But yes. Hi, Cheryl. Hello.
Hi, Cheryl.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
I know, me too.
Yeah, because Bree and I were texting before it started, and we were like, oh, we're going to talk about this, but it's like, we loved it. So, like, what else is there to say other than we loved this book?
Spoiler, we loved it. And, like, I think we both started it the same day, too. And did you finish it all in one day?
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely in one sitting kind of read because it was so good.
It was addictive. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to pick up more from this author. Definitely after this. Yeah.
That's one of the most, and this was one, because I know we typically, at least in the past, we've always read authors that we already knew and loved and everything because, you know, how difficult it is to find authors that have books with representation and also have audio and also like we have a lot of checklists. But this was, I think, the first author that I hadn't read before. So I was so excited to have loved it as much as I did.
Yes. Because we were texting, because I texted you. I think I got a notification on my phone because I always set reminders for myself before the live show. I'll be like an hour before, a day before, a few days before, and I get a notification and I'm like, I forgot it was a Saturday. I'm horrible about that. And I started it and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope Bree doesn't hate me and I hope I finish this in time. And I think I was like on chapter 15 and I was like, I'm at the cutest part ever. I have to text her about it. Yeah. And you were like, yeah, I just started it too. It's fine.
Yeah, you were on 15 and I was on chapter 18. So I just started it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll do some of the banners I have for our book club. So if you don't know, this is...
I am Bree. You pointed to the right side. I always point to the wrong side because I feel like it's backward. Anyway, so I am Bree. My channel is In Love and Words. I read mostly romance and some nonfiction. I also have multiple sclerosis. So I love seeing chronic illness, neurodivergent, disability rep in books. And that's why we started this book club.
Yes. And I'm Ava from Ava's Romance Books. And I have a lot of chronic illnesses. I don't want to list them all, but I feel like the main one's POTS, and I have a heart condition and celiac disease. So again, I like Bree. I love like Bree. I love finding good rep in romance books specifically because everyone deserves love. So.
And we also love when it's actually steamy too, open door, because disabilities can be sexy too. So we love that. Oh, also speaking of neurodivergence, I also have panic disorder, so I get panic attacks as well. Add that into the joyful mix. And a lot of it is health induced. So having a chronic illness that is as serious as the one that I have was, of course, the perfect storm of horribleness.
Very stressful.
Yeah. Hey, Angie.
Hello. So we're going to talk about what we thought about the book before we read it. I think we talked about this in the description of our Instagram post, but actually Zay from Witty Reads DM'd me a picture of this book. So she hadn't read it. She hasn't read it yet, but I don't think so. I don't know if she's read it since then, but at the point she didn't read it. And she was like, oh, I just heard about this book. It looks so good. And Bree and I were wanting to pick our next pick to be an author of color. We really wanted to do that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's Kismet. Thank you, Zay, for sending it to me. I'll send it to Bree. And she was like, yes. So I was very excited to read it. And both of us had never read the author before. So I was even doubly excited. So.
Mm-hmm. And even better, it had an audiobook, and even better than that, the audiobook was on Scribd. So that was awesome. So I was able to pick it up for just my membership fee with Scribd. So that was great. And yeah, I literally knew nothing about it because I think you did the original post on Instagram with the description, but I notoriously like to go into books without knowing anything about them. So I knew nothing about this. I think I knew what the rep was, but I had forgotten by the time I picked it up because we announced it and then I read it literally yesterday. So I had forgotten like the tropes. We like to give you guys enough time. We typically read it very close to the time that it's due, mostly because I will forget. With all the other books that I read in between, I'll forget. And I purposely won't read a book in between. Like I'll read the book and then I won't read anything until we have the show so that it's kind of like top of mind. But yeah, I knew absolutely nothing going into it. I didn't even know the author, so I didn't even know like anything about the author's writing style. And I have to say that's one thing, the writing style, I liked this book immediately from like, because sometimes I can, you know how you can, I don't know if this happens to you, but I'll go into a book and I know almost right away if I'm going to like it. And that was this book.
That literally happened to me yesterday. I had a book on my August TBR. I read one chapter and I was like, no.
Yep.
I was like, I'm not even going to do anymore. No. But I totally agree. Her writing style was, she really reminded me of a Talia Hibbert book, but American.
Yes. Yeah, she's like an American Talia Hibbert. That's true, because the same like type, like it had a little bit of humor in it and just like relatable characters. Like I felt like I related to the characters for sure.
Yes. So if you haven't read this book yet and you love Talia Hibbert, I feel like you're gonna love this book. Regardless, it was so good. And I also want to mention, like, that's why Bree and I ask like viewers and everyone watching, like, send us books you think we should do for the book club, because like we might have never picked this one up if Zay didn't DM it to us. So and I think we have a
tendency, we have a tendency to kind of lean towards authors we already know because like I said before, it's hard to find authors that check all the boxes or books that check all the boxes. So I think we kind of like, I know for me, I have go-to authors that I know will have good representation. And I think it's a little scary going into a book where you don't know the author, because I'm like, oh, what if the representation's not good? But I mean, I can't speak for this representation. We'll talk about that later, but
same with like, we also probably, we're romance readers because we love knowing what we're getting into. And so with authors we already love, we're like, I already know that I'm at least going to like the book, you know, or like we talked about, like, writing style's good. I mesh well with their writing. So yeah, I feel like this was like a jump into the deep end. That was good.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. Okay. So star rating and review. You want to go first, Bree?
Sure. I obviously gave this 5 stars. I had to. I think like I said, as soon as I read the first couple of paragraphs, I was like immediately 5 stars, like immediately. And the way I did, I had a live show last night and I was talking about this book a little bit because I had just finished it. And the way I described it was just a joy to read. Like it just it put a smile on my face. I am not the person to say whether a book is like happy or not, because I somehow block out when something's like emotional or heartbreaking, because I guess I have a heart of steel because I don't like, I will forget that something is like heartbreaking and has horribly emotional scenes. And I'm just like, this was such a happy, great book. And everyone else is like, did you forget about the part where this devastating thing happened? So to me, if I remember correctly, this book was a very happy book and a very like low angst, joyful book.
I think so too. Like even like moments that were emotional, like I don't really know how to describe it, but like the hero in here, Diego, he's a widower, and even talking about his dead wife, like there's obviously like sadness, but it's not like something like crushing to him, you know, like it happened like 3 years ago. So like there are like emotional aspects, but it's not like a Brittany Cherry novel where the mom died like a week ago, you know?
Right, exactly. And they're like, and he's, you know, he still has things that he has to work through, but it's not to the point where it's like devastating for him. And when it did touch on the more like serious subjects, it wasn't like it brushed over it. It was lightly taken. It was just, you know, it didn't feel like heavy. It didn't dwell in those parts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness. Is it called, it's correct me if I'm wrong, hyperthyroidism? right?
Yeah, I think it's hyper or hypo. I can't remember.
Hypo.
I don't
Angie,
remember.
let us know if you remember, because you said I think it's hyper. I have no clue. Please, I'm ignorant.
I think it was overactive, so I think it's
Okay.
But she's on medication for it, and at the time of reading it, she's like dealing with it. Yeah. So obviously, neither of us can speak to the representation of it, but I related to, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to, if you have a chronic illness, to the overprotective parents a little bit. So
yes.
I bet you more than me, Avery, but yeah, but like that was one thing, like when I was first diagnosed, I was not only dealing with my reaction to finding out and my symptoms and everything, but I was dealing with people I love handling it too, and like having to manage their emotions as well as my emotions. Right. So I definitely related to that with the character.
Right. I also forgot to mention my rating. I just want to talk about the rep so bad. No, I want to talk about the rep because I really loved it. But wait, Angie said hyperthyroidism.
Okay.
I think. Yes. I also gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it. It just like, I think I'm in a state of mind right now where my brain fog is really bad. And so I can't recollect a lot about it, if that makes sense. Then I feel like full 5-star books are like, boom,
stuck in your head.
I remember so much stuck in my head. You're right. Yeah. So if I read it when I'm not in this state, because I can't remember a lot of the books I've read recently. So I think it's just a me thing, but I loved it. I didn't dislike anything about it, honestly. And then I was also reading reviews after I read it.
Oh.
And like this girl, oh my gosh, this one girl was saying like, this guy was way too mean to his customers. And I was like, oh my gosh.
She's clearly never read like A Serious Grumpy Sunshine, because he is not as mean as some of the others.
He is not mean. Like,
yeah.
No. But I loved the representation. I thought it was done really well. And I really relate to the heroine when you forget to take your meds. It shows. Like, it shows. Because, like, I'll be, like, not feeling good one day, and I'll be like, I didn't take my medication this morning. Oops. You know? Yep. But I really related to her, like you said, Bree, about, like, not overprotective, but like parents being very worried about you because you are their sick kid. So like, and like you said, like having to worry about your family members' emotions on top of your own. Because I feel like you and I were very, very empathetic people, you know? And so like, I even have to worry about my sister, and does my sister feel like excluded because my parents are like hovering over me and not all over her. So like, it's things like that I really related to in here. And I just love also that she was spending so much time with her family, because in romance books sometimes like you don't get that. And like the parents are still together, and like they're like, she has like a wonderful family system, but she also just wanted to be independent and be like, I want to make it on my own. I don't need your money. I love you, but like I want to do it on my own. And I also love I thought it was very interesting. The one thing I maybe like didn't love was the fact that the heroine was keeping her chronic illness, quote unquote, a secret, but she didn't have to disclose it. But I get why she didn't, because she didn't want Diego to worry about her because his wife died from sickness, which it's like understandable. It's just not my favorite thing to read about someone hiding their chronic illness or disability. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yes. And the financial troubles of being a teacher.
Yes, like, but even the doctor, I love that scene where the doctor's like, dude, I'm trying here. I'm trying to give you the least expensive medication. I am so sorry, but this is helping you live.
I love that book so much.
She's read that one. I got it because of Bree. I haven't read that book yet because I want to read them in order, and I think it's book 2.5 in the series. And I've only read book 1.
I think I read 2 of the books in that series, but I had read this one first, I think. And I think it's almost like a spinoff more than it is like part of the series.
Because I remember the heroine in the novella Can't Escape Love is that the book? Yeah, when she's a wheelchair user?
She's a wheelchair user.
I think she's in the first book, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Does Alyssa Cole have a disability or chronic illness? Do we know?
I don't know. Bree and I are in like stalker mode to learn this.
We're like, you don't have to tell anyone, but if you did, we would like to try and choose authors who are in the community. Own voices. Hey, thank you, Zay, for picking this.
So she's the person who picked this for us.
I get nervous too. I get nervous too when it has my chronic illness, for sure, for a lot of reasons. Part of it is like, because my chronic illness can be very scary. I think all of them can be. So it's always scary to read about I feel like sometimes authors can take the worst of it. And then it's always scary to think about the worst things that can happen and be in someone's head while that's happening. But then also I always worry about bad representation too, of course.
Yeah, because you told me a few that you have read. You've had the character who has your chronic illness die. You're like,
yeah.
Like, exactly. No, I wouldn't want to read about that either. Like, I don't want to read about that, and I don't even have MS. Again, like you said, like I don't think that's great representation. So,
yeah.
So, hello, Lucille.
Hi. So I like you like author, and she did work at a bar at one time.
It shows.
I know it does show. You get very detailed, like bar kind of stuff with her working there.
And it was cool. I felt like I was learning a whole new world. I'm 24 and I don't drink. I just don't. I hate the taste of alcohol. And so I don't go to bars. I don't drink. So I thought like, oh, I'm learning something new. And she was describing it so well.
Yeah.
And it's like fun to read about, even though like I'm never going to do this, but it's fun to read about.
Yeah, I don't drink either, but I agree. I was interested in like when she was talking about the alcoholic beverages and mixing it. Yes, we loved it. I loved it so much.
Thank you, Sam. I think we talked about, we liked like representation. We liked, I liked her finding another job in like a more unique aspect. And even like, I would not be able to do that because like I cannot be on my feet for long periods of time. But I like how she like was like, I'm going to try and I'm going to see how I feel, which very admirable to me.
Yes, absolutely. I also, this was my kind, I don't like student-teacher relationships, but this is my kind of student-teacher relationship. He's an adult. He's actually older than her.
Yes. I also love it was an older couple romance. And then it reminded me of, I think you read this too, Getting Schooled by Christina C. Jones.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of that, but she's a TA in that book. But like
she's
reading
a TA. His
writing, and then she was like swooning over his writing.
But like meanwhile in person, she didn't get along with him in person. That whole dynamic was fantastic.
Yes. So that's I need to write that down. I have like a list of books for like, if you like this, read that. So that's one.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Especially because I know some people might be hesitant about teacher-student, but this is definitely a palatable teacher-student for those who don't like that type of. But there's still a forbidden aspect because she's his teacher and he's also her boss. So it's almost like the power dynamics are even, which is one of the reasons why I don't love teacher-students is because the power dynamics are off. But the power dynamics pretty much cancel each other out.
And I was like, anytime they needed to talk alone, they'd go have office hours.
Office hours?
in his office, though.
Oh my gosh, yes. I also loved her family relationship, like you talked about earlier. I liked her relationship with her parents and her sibling, too.
Yeah. She had like a funny relationship with her brother. It was cute.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was very interesting, like a new take on things, because when you read older couple romances, a lot of the times you get older couples, because I just read, I think like directly after I read this book, I read a monster romance. I read Mantras and Minotaurs by Ashley Bennett, and both characters in that book, they are single. One is a widow and the other one is a divorcee. Is that how you say it? They're divorced. And but they have kids. And so, like, they play a role into the romance, too. In this book, you have an older couple where there's no kids involved.
Right.
Which, there are plenty of of people out there looking for love that are older and don't have kids. You know what I mean? So I like how mature this book was. Like I really like the mature level of it, the maturity level of it.
Yeah, and like their issues with each other were quick to resolve too, which I appreciated. Like I feel like they didn't drag out for too long.
But everyone in the comments, if you have something you really liked about the book, let us know. And I think we kind of already touched on the only thing I disliked was like the fact that she kept her chronic illness a secret. That's just not something I personally like in my romance books or like books in general. But I could see why she did. You know what I mean? Like I felt like different from like the books that I'll like rate like 2 stars lower. Like I don't see a reason why they hide it. I was like, okay, I understand. I get it. So
yeah, it's almost understandable in a job situation. But like when it's a relationship, it gets exhausting because that it's almost overused to me, the whole keeping it secret. Like especially with MS, when MS isn't a book, I feel like a lot of the books that I've read, especially if it's a main character, they keep it a secret from both the reader and they're just like, there's this huge devastating thing about me, but I can't tell you because it, you know, or like it's the whole, I can't be with you, but I'm not going to tell you why. And you find out it's because of MS. I just like, so that does get on my nerves, but I did understand in this because it was a job situation. And she was like, I don't have to disclose this to you.
Right. And I also like how we as a reader knew what was going on. Like you said, like when the reader doesn't even know what's going on, it's like, what the heck? So I like how we knew what was going on. And I really just, I loved her whole perspective on being chronically ill. Like I liked that. And then at some points, like I really related to her too. Sorry, I'm talking about something I like, but then when the dislikes,
it's hard when you like the book.
Because I only really disliked one thing. And I didn't even really dislike it. It was just something like, ooh, it's not my favorite. So, oh no, brain fog. What was I going to talk about?
I hate when that happens.
Give me a second. What were we talking about?
I don't remember because I also sometimes have brain fog too, so it's just not a good dynamic.
Oh man.
Yes, Kirby heroin. That's another thing that I loved.
Oh, sorry, I gotta update the comments.
I never read a teacher. This is like the type of, if you don't like teacher-student romances, you will like this one because it doesn't feel like it. Like it, if it's for the power dynamic reason anyway. Yes. And I love how there was like, and I forget what she said about it. There was a brief time when she was talking about like accepting her body and everything. And she didn't dwell on it. And it wasn't like a big thing, but it was still acknowledged. And I love that.
Yes. And I love how like obsessed Diego was with her and her body. Like, oh my, when they were together, he was like, oh my God, you're I love a man who like drools over his woman. Like, oh, you totally got that in these scenes. Like, yes.
I think the only thing that I dislike, and this wasn't even a real dislike, but I prefer first person, and this wasn't third person. So that was the only thing. But the reason why I don't like third person most of the time is because I feel disconnected from the characters. Like I can't like really get into the characters and get in their head. But I did not have that problem with this, and I think it's because of the writing. The writing was just so good. I barely noticed.
Does Talia also write in third person?
Does she?
Let me get a book.
Yeah, go get a book.
But I also think the audiobook helped as well.
Yes, the audiobook narrator was so freaking good.
So good.
I need to find out who that audiobook narrator is and find more books that they narrated because it was really, really good.
Okay. And then also, can we talk about the love of food in this book? Like them talking about food. I was like, I need that in my mouth now. And you and I can make what they're cooking, but I don't care.
Yep.
Okay, let me get this third person.
It's third person?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Talia is another one who can overcome that barrier.
I never would have guessed.
All right then. It's the worst.
Oh, that's the worst. Jinx.
He did worship her body. I love that. Yes, brain fog is not easy.
Yeah.
I almost
I don't
find
even
that when I do have brain fog, I like the harder I try to remember what I was about to say or whatever it is, the harder it is to figure it out. Like I almost have to let my brain.
Deeper it goes in your brain.
Yeah.
The harder
you're like chasing it and it's running away. He
yes.
did.
Oh my gosh. Yes. He had a mouth on him too. Like
yeah, he did.
I think for favorite scenes, I think I told Bree one of mine because that's when I had to text her and be like, "What chapter are you on?" Because I have to talk about this. But I loved the scene where like he stands up to the guys who don't leave her a tip.
Oh my God.
At the bar.
The rage I felt when I read that part for her.
And I was like texting her. I was like, have you passed chapter 15 yet? And she's like, yes. I'm like, yes. Like, I was like, this scene left me as a cuddle. Like, it was so good.
Yes. Honestly, all of the scenes where he got a little bit awkward was my favorite thing in the world because it's because he's a grumpy hero that I loved that so much. He's a grumpy hero with a heart, but because he likes her so much and he's an introvert and she's an extrovert, so it's like opposite to track 2. Just he would get awkward sometimes, and it just was the cutest thing in the whole world. I loved it.
Like he's definitely introvert. He even has like his bar manager interview people instead of him. He has to loom over the bar and basically behind the customer, behind the person, go yes or no.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, I would be doing that too if I owned a bar. Like, I'm not talking to nobody.
Like, who of you people that work for me are extroverts? You're going to interview people. Always.
Yep.
For men especially, I feel like we get a lot of we have more curvy heroines than we do have bigger.
Yes.
All of the above.
Do we have any character likes and dislikes?
So I'm obsessed with both of their personalities. It was such a good grumpy sunshine. And I loved everything about her. Even though I'm not extroverted, I still felt connected to her and her sunshiny. I think it's her optimism because I'm a pretty optimistic person too. And I love seeing that in a character. I love seeing that with her. And then just seeing it against his little grumpy personality.
Yes, it was so cute.
Yes. And I think we both liked, he was just the right amount of possessive, like, and overprotective, like just the right amount.
Yes. And like, I think I said like a minute ago, like I read the Goodreads review saying like, he was too mean to his customers. I'm like, no, he was not.
I know.
Fine. In the review, I think she said like, okay, I get why he was grumpy to the heroine and like, that was fine. But the fact that he was rude to his customers, I'm like, they were being horrible.
Like, I know, his customers were the worst.
Yes. And I love how she was helping him get like the college kids out of there. She's like, what can we do to get these horrible
like kids? Karaoke? Let's do it. We'll get them out.
You know, in college, I would have gone to karaoke night. I would not have
I know. I did when I was in college.
I would have watched. Were you brave? Did you go on stage?
Oh, I did it. I cannot do public speaking, but I can get up and karaoke with no problem. I don't know what it is, but I can easily do
Maybe
that.
Because you're reading a screen, you just saying, you don't have to like think about it.
Exactly. And you're supposed to be silly and like, it's not supposed to be great. So
and I also love the fact that she became like a wedding planner.
Yes. It was like perfect for her.
Yes, like it fits with her personality, like the sunshiny, wants everyone to be happy. Like I think in the bar, she would like the hero was like so upset. He goes, why is she befriending everyone who comes in here? What is it with her? I'm like, that's just her.
Exactly. And he like he's like he can't relate to her being that way, but he also kind of admires it. A little bit on the down low. He wouldn't outright admit it, but he definitely admires it.
Yes.
To the person who thought that he was too grumpy, obviously they didn't watch Gilmore Girls because Luke Danes is like I like that kind of character.
He's giving me Luke Dane vibes. Yes. Let's see. The next one we have any swoon-worthy moments that we remember.
Oh, definitely the overprotective moments.
Yes.
Swooning over that.
I even think, are there some like out of the bedroom like scenes? Like, if I remember correctly, like in his office, like in
the
his
office scenes. Well, even the first one, like that was one thing. At first, when they first hook up in the office, it happens kind of quickly. Like they had literally, they was think it was the first day they were with each other, but they also noticed, like at the same time, like it kind of was like they couldn't even help it. And then they're like, "Whoa, you are my teacher, you're my boss. Like we need to not." The door's open.
He's like, "Oops, I shouldn't have put open door policy." But I also am obsessed with characters who like bicker and fight at each other and then immediately start making out.
Like all of a sudden they're kissing, and I'm like, yes.
Yes.
And let her do them, like the wedding, the bachelorette party or whatever it was.
Yeah. I can see the little thing of conflict that we had towards the end, where like he says something he probably should not have, you know. But I felt like it was I felt like it was dealt with. That's what I was trying to say. Dealt with in a very mature way. They were not being like, "I'll never speak to you again." Like they handled it like adults, being like, "I don't messed up. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was just worried about you." So
exactly. Yeah, I definitely understood those moments.
Okay, and then our last banner that we have is continuing with the series or author. I put series in there because a lot of the books that we read for this book club are part of the series. But for this author, yes, I want to pick up more of her books. I love her writing style. I love it.
I want to look up. Have you looked up to see if she has more books? I feel like I.
Let me check my Libby. Libby had, I think, some of her books, but not this one.
Oh, so she has more. I wasn't sure if this was like the only book that.
Let me check. I think if I'm making sure, I think I follow her on Instagram, and there's like other books.
Yeah, I follow. As soon as I finished this book, I was like, immediately follow. Need to know what you're up to. I'm looking on Goodreads, but as always, Goodreads is worse. Okay, yeah, she does have other ones. There's not as many. Was this her most recent release? This release, June of 2023.
Oh, this cover's cute though. Look how cute that cover is. It's
I like that cover.
But it's an ebook. So for audios, my Libby has 2 of them. Oh no, my Libby did have Mickey Chambers. It was just like an 18-week wait.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Oh, stop. And it's called Even If the Sky is Falling. Wait, I love that.
It's an anthology.
That's cute. She has a book called I'll Come Back for You, and there's something about that title that has me.
I'm going to put this on. Wait, let me see what this is about. Is it? Yeah, it's an anthology. One of them is about 2 NASA Special X forces reunite under pressure. Next, competing food stall owners face no escape from each other or their shared past. 3, 2 law students learn just how strongly opposites attract between the library stacks. There's 3 more. I don't know which ones she wrote, but that's cute. I'm gonna put on that. Sounds cute. 24 weeks, so I have time.
They're on Hoopla. They said.
Oh, comments.
Oh, which book did you read? Which book did you read, Zay?
Oh, right, because she told me I've read this author before, but not this specific book.
Oh,
she told me.
Okay. This book, I'll Come Back for You, sounds really good. So I guess the heroine wants to run a Miami resort, but then a hurricane destroys it. And then she inherits a bed and breakfast. But there's she thinks it might be haunted. So she has this ghost hunting team come, and it's her high school crush is the lead camera operator. How cool is that?
Hey, we need to plan this next buddy read. Okay, what's the title of that one?
I'll Come Back for You. I just love that title.
My audiobook service.
I don't know if it's on audio.
I'll Come Back for You. Let me add it to my Goodreads. But Any Play has a few. There's one called Falling for You. And the one that I showed you with like the interracial couple on the front, like with the orangey fall vibes, that one's on Anyplay too. Anyplay?
Okay. Nice. So Zay says she read Hearts on Hold. Hi, at least you're here.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
I'll come back.
Yeah, we'll have to do it.
Yes. It came out 2022. Okay. Anyway, but answer this question. Yes, we plan on reading more.
Yes. Also, I realized earlier you were talking about the Wright Brothers series, which was Getting Schooled, and I'm wearing my Mrs. Wright sweatshirt.
Oh my gosh, I missed that. Yes. I need to read more in that series too. I've only read Getting Schooled. And I know you love.
Yeah, I love that whole series. And then the spin-off Love Sisters, that series is really good too.
Oh, right. And those are like novellas.
Yeah, they're all short.
Yeah. I do have Relationship Goals by Christina C. Jones on my TBR this month.
Okay.
So
you should read Pulling Doubles though, because that has diabetes rep in it. The heroine is a doctor, and she has diabetes.
Okay. Because the one that the Relationship Goals I heard it sell, so that's why I picked it.
I haven't read that one yet.
Because Tori and I wanted to buddy read a book that had disability or chronic illness rep, and I was like, oh, this one looks good, let's pick it up. We both could listen to it, and she's like putting together a TBR like a week later. She's like, I just realized I've already read this book. But I still want to read it, so I was like, I'm still gonna read it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But is there anything else anyone would like to comment? We're gonna keep this alive a little shorter than usual because we loved it so much. Like, what else are we gonna talk about?
Exactly. This sweatshirt is great, especially I live in Florida, but it's like super thin. Like it's a nice summer kind of sweatshirt in the evening, and it's comfy and cute.
I love the color shade of pink.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, the only other thing I want to say is I can't wait to read more by this author because I love the writing style.
Yes, we'll have to read the one you talked about. That one looks good.
Yes.
And then I'll have to ask Zay what she thought of the one that she read, because that one is on Anyplay. So,
what are we reading next? Did we is what Chloe coming out?
What did I sent you a book? Oh, we have there's one that I was thinking about picking. I've already read it, but I would love other people to read it. So we might pick that one. It's the Sapphic one I told you about.
Okay.
But Chloe's.
I'm also waiting for Finding Gene Kelly to come out on audio. I thought that was supposed to happen soon because I haven't read that yet. I've been putting it off.
I know. I can.
All this to say we haven't. Yeah. All this to say we haven't figured it out yet, but we will announce it on Instagram.
Yeah. When all else fails, if we can't find one, we're going to probably do Chloe's new book because that comes out in October.
Yeah.
So we have, I think, like 3 options that we're going to discuss and talk about. But I'll try and, well, it would be our August. Oh, wait, no. This would be our August, September book. And Chloe's book doesn't come out till October.
Okay, yeah. So we'll have one in between.
Before the Chloe one. Oh.
LA Cotton book. What's that one?
Okay.
Thank you.
So Tori told me about this one. Oh gosh, it's a hockey romance, and she told me it wasn't marketed as this, but she told me afterward, and Monica told me about it too afterward too. I had a few people DM me being like, "Have you read this one?" Because the heroine has celiac disease.
Okay.
In this hockey romance.
I wonder if do we know if it's own voices at all, or if there's audiobook for it? Because that's usually the On the Nice.
On the Nice.
Yeah, the issues we usually run into is it either doesn't have an audiobook or that we're not sure if the author has the representation.
There is an audiobook. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. There is an audiobook because it was on like Tori and Jess's audiobook PR thing.
Okay. Nice.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I don't remember. It does look like it's a second in a series, but I'm assuming it be read as a standalone. And also if the author has chronic illness or disability.
But, well, Bree and I will talk about it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we know what October, November's book's gonna be.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm also cheerleading the Sapphic one I read that has dyslexia representation. The dyslexia rep was really good.
Okay.
Really good.
Yeah, I would love to read a sapphic romance at some point.
So, any hoozles, I think that's it. We had a lot of fun. Oh,
I loved that book. I thought it was really good. Mm-hmm.
I want to read that one. I know, because I think we were gonna, if we didn't pick Catherine Cowell's book to be first, that's the one we would have picked. But Bree's already read it, so we were like, I told her, I was like, I want us both to go into it book club without reading it. And like, luckily, I think all the books that we've picked, both of us have never read before. So, okay, we'll have to do some stalking.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
We always appreciate that.
But thank you all so much for joining us. We had a lot of fun talking about this book. And sure to check in on our Instagrams to figure out what our August, September pick is going to be.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, yes. I'll do it with you. Let's do it. Okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye.